When we share our story, we actually begin to allow people to connect with us in a different way. When we're putting a facade up and saying, okay, here's what perfection, I'm the perfect leader, here's what I'm supposed to be, here's how I'm supposed to be. There's no room for people to actually connect to me. All they're connecting to is a facade, and that facade is very fragile. But if I open up, now there's access. People connect through vulnerability, they disconnect through certainty. Stories allow for people to connect because there's vulnerability involved in stories. Yeah, when you're talking about newness, the Nile River.
Yes.
And not a lot of people know this, but the Nile River is estimated to be about 38 million years old. 38 million years old, and it's one of the, if not the only river of its kind and its age to still be flowing in the original riverbed.
Wow.
So the riverbed hasn't shifted in 38 million years.
Wow.
So when you think about it, the Nile, the upper Nile, the lower Nile, the whole Nile as the cradle of all civilization on this planet, literally.
Yeah.
You go back 38 million years. So when we're thinking of newness, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Good morning, Blaine.
Good morning, how are you?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to meet you in
my
your
pleasure.
island. Thank you so much for meeting me in the beautiful morning.
Welcome to my island. It's a little colder here than it is in Vietnam.
I know, and you just got back from?
I just got back from Egypt. I've been the last 3 weeks in Cairo, in Egypt, floating the Nile and exploring different aspects of Egyptian history.
Wow, and there's a lot of newness in there. You got the privilege to go into
some of the oldest temples on the planet. And when you're talking about newness, the Nile River.
Yes.
And not a lot of people know this, but the Nile River is estimated to be about 38 million years old. 38 million years old, and it's one of the, if not the only river of its kind and its age to still be flowing in the original riverbed.
Wow.
So the riverbed hasn't shifted in 38 million years.
Wow.
So when you think about it, the Nile, the upper Nile, the lower Nile, the whole Nile as the cradle of all civilization on this planet, literally.
Yeah.
You go back 38 million years. So when you're thinking of newness, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Because I was floating this river and I was looking at these bulrushes coming up along the side, and in Christian texts, they're talking about Moses's basket being hidden in the bulrushes of the Nile when the Pharaoh was trying to kill all the kids and all that stuff. So the river, the old aphorism, if you look at Siddhartha, you can't step into the same river twice, but the river is always flowing.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a kind of an interesting way to capture the idea of newness.
Wow.
There really is nothing new.
Yeah.
It's just a reconfiguration of life as it moves through space.
Yeah. The key word is reconfiguration.
Reconfiguration, yeah. It's a transformation.
Yeah.
Wow. And I was struck, on this journey by the incredible lineage of dynasties that have risen and fallen and risen and fallen. And nothing is permanent. It just all moves. It all moves.
Yeah.
And out of the old comes the new.
Yes. And when we do the newness thing, it's not coming out of the blue. When we did the analysis of all the interviews that we had, the people that we so lucky to invite to our program and have them share their stories, right? What makes them awesome is the ability to lean in onto newness, to reconfigure things out, to not afraid, not fear of change, but leading the change and inviting people to the journey of change themselves also.
Oh, absolutely.
And for example, like you, 38 years ago, you came to Japan, lead an organization there, and then fall in love with the country, and then build your leadership program that now you've been, having on your cohort, the third generations of, leaders. For those that you've been training 38 years ago,
Yeah.
amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
The idea of, in a business context,
Yes.
we'll call this kind of a move a pivot. Yeah. So COVID was a great example of that. There were a lot of businesses that needed to pivot, to do things different, to change how they went to market, and in some cases even what they took to market.
What they took to market. What do you mean by that?
The same product offering. My business is a good example of that. We do leadership development work, and basically we do a lot of work with strategic plan implementation. How do you implement a strategic plan in an organization from a leadership perspective? That initially involved, in the work that I did for about 30 years, was all about on the ground, on-site training and development, and just working with people. During COVID, we had to change how we went to market, and so that was one aspect of it. So a digital move rather than an in-person move, but also reconfiguring what we did. And it caused me to begin to look at just how do we define leadership.
Wow.
And that's where we're at today. Is leadership is, from our perspective, has to be seen as an invitation to participate. It's not about command and control. And if we can invite people to participate in a way that resonates with them, then we have commitment. We have something that we can actually transform an organization with. Because the pace of change is not slowing down, it's just accelerating, and AI is a great example of that. And last time we talked, I think I mentioned this, but the problem with change oftentimes is never the change itself. People can pretty much understand why we need to change. But what people don't understand, and leaders in particular almost never understand, is that change will always cause a disruption to existing relationships. My relationship with my job, my relationship with values, my relationship with work process, my relationship with anything is challenged when a change is introduced. And most leaders don't understand how to navigate a change in relationship dynamics that keeps people engaged. And when people disengage, it's because the relationships have been broken.
Yeah. In the newness framework that we work in, there's a two N in there. The first one is the first N is notice. So you notice something new, and because we want them to have the warm-ups, like before you go for a run, you need to get yourself warmed, right? Before we go now here for the interview, we have to be inside for our coffee and cookies and stuff, right?
Because folks, you don't know this, it's cold out here right now.
It's really cold out here right now. Thank you so much. At least I have the hat for myself. So that notice, we inviting people to start learning how to notice little change in life, little new thing every single day. So when you have that reservoir of like ability to notice different things, then you're starting to see opportunity and possibility. And the second N in the nest is a neutralize discomfort, like you say, right? So how could you build the capacity for you to notice opportunity and possibility in advance? Like during the COVID time, you noticed opportunity to move your business to digital, to utilize the virtual space for growing the business to the next level. So and at the same time navigate the discomfort that's stopping you from something that you've been doing for decades. Yeah. How did you do that?
Well, I'd like to say it was easy, but it wasn't. And I like the distinction that you're making with the two ends.
Yes.
Most people, I'll say it this way. Most people are not noticing where their attention is directed towards. We just squirrels. It's kind of like, something bright and shiny, and our attention gets distracted. Our attention is pulled, oftentimes in directions that are opposite of what we said we wanted to do. So the notice what I'm noticing when did my attention get shifted? When, what was the catalyst? What caused that moment of disengagement with what I said I wanted and re-engagement with historical sort of behaviors and that sort of a thing. So in the leadership work we do, the foundational piece is around awareness, which another way of saying noticing, just become aware of what's going on. And then the second end, part of this has to do with detachment, being able to not be wedded to or attached to how it was before. And it shows up in the sense of, I wish it was different. That internal conversation, if only it was, if only it wasn't. And as soon as I go into that if only, I start denying the existence of what's real right now. It is what it is. It is what it is. And that's the only place that I have leverage. It's the only place I have power. It's the only place I can make a change, is in the present. When I'm thinking about if only it wasn't, I'm going to the back. I'm looking historically again. If only it wasn't, if it was only the way it used to be. That sort of thing. So those two pieces, I think, are absolutely crucial to being able to generate new, a future that is going to be what we would like to have realized, both for ourselves, but also for our companies and the people in our lives.
Yesterday, when I went on a trip to visit some friends, right? We heard about the power of subtracting. Like you say, newness, actually, there's nothing new under the sun, right? So we might be leaning to something new, looking for something new, but actually there's a whole bunch of everything inside of us, around us, that we can renew and make new from that also, right? So when it comes to clarity, when it comes to attention, what do you do to help you to grow that clarity, grow that attention to yourself?
The idea of subtraction, I think, is very poorly understood, and it's absolutely crucial to being able to create new. Most people will try to use what they're already familiar with. And how can I bundle this differently? How can I package this differently? How can I, whatever. But if I can sit back and just, with awareness, with noticing, what is no longer of value? What no longer serves? What do we need to, to not work with any longer? And this gets to be a challenge in organizations, because sometimes what we need to let go of is the source of our greatest revenue right now, but it will not facilitate us moving to where we need to be tomorrow. So beginning to let go of that, it allows for the emergence of a new way of being. And I talked about going to market in a different way, sometimes going to market with a completely different product mix. And that certainly has been true with us as we've looked at how we work with leadership. How do we, what do we need to let go of from an old school perspective? On-site training, as an example, still has a place, but in the work that we're doing, things are moving so fast with most of the organizations we work with that we can't really invest the time just for a training program. So we have moved away from trainings as a standalone product, because it doesn't serve the client and it doesn't serve our long-term mission.
Wow. I was thinking about the last two S in the framework newness, and I want to pick one word in there. The first S is, because those two S's are what we grow them with the fundamental of leading from the guts. So from the
soul,
from the NEW is leading from the head, and then the NE is leading by the heart, and then the SS is leading by the gut. But the first one is share your stories.
Is what?
Is share your stories.
To share a story.
Share your stories, because when we look at amazing people, when you do something well, you share it through maybe like a podcast that like we do, or a post you share on LinkedIn, or a video or anything that you try to share it so that other people can learn from you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you share that, you have the ability to relieve that experience. You can have the way to fine-tune that experience, get the feedbacks from other people to have that experience to grow to the next level also. And that's where newness grow and blossoms.
Mm-hmm.
And go to the next level of newness. So, but a lot of people are afraid of that. And maybe the head tell them, oh, I'm nobody to share, or the heart was like so generate so many different chemicals that that make them fearful of sharing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we said let the gut lead the way to share stories. You've been sharing your stories for many years on television, on shows, on many platforms. What did you see the connection between sharing your own stories in correlation with newness and bring newness to the next level?
Sharing my story, I'll just speak generically here, but when somebody is willing to share their story, they open themselves up.
Yeah.
So vulnerability is required. And vulnerability is frightening for a lot of leaders because a lot of the mindset that leaders have, typical leaders have, is that I'm supposed to know the answers. And you'll hear this in some of the ways that leaders are, leadership is described. Don't let them see you sweat. As an example of this, don't let them see that you're under stress. Be unflappable, be certain. None of that actually works. When we share our story, we actually begin to allow people to connect with us in a different way. When we're putting a facade up and saying, okay, here's what perfection, I'm the perfect leader, here's what I'm supposed to be, here's how I'm supposed to be. There's no room for people to actually connect to me. All they're connecting to is a facade, and that facade is very fragile. But if I open up, now there's access. People connect through vulnerability, they disconnect through certainty. Stories allow for people to connect because there's vulnerability involved in stories.
Wow. If you look at your years of leading, of having people to grow and to be the best version of themselves as individuals, as leaders, and how newness would come in handy to help them, to have our listeners in here to have the confidence to lean into newness, to learn the lesson from that, to let newness taking them to the place that they did not yet not know. So what would be the advice you can give to
well, we're just talking about stories. So a story that I think can illustrate that is, you see a bird flying around and you see it coming into a tree, and there's a little limb. It's a very tiny little limb, and the bird lands on that limb, and the limb bounces a little bit because of the weight of the bird. Is the bird trusting the limb, or is the bird trusting its wings?
Both. To me.
Well, if the limb breaks,
the bird still can fly.
So the bird is actually innately trusting its wings. So when we're looking at newness requires risk. Risk taking is like stepping into or landing on that little twig. And if you're afraid of the twig breaking, you're not going to take that step. Unless you trust your wings to be able to handle the consequence of taking that step. And the first step is the catalyzing move. Newness will not occur unless I take that first step. It can remain an idea, but unless it's set into motion, unless it's set into action, without guarantee of success, nothing will happen. And people will oftentimes just hold back because they want a guarantee.
In the word newness, we have the W is walk the first steps. So like you say, take insights into actions, and the last E is extract the lessons.
Extract the lesson. Yes.
So anything that you're involved into in something new, what lesson did you learn from there? How can you implement it next time? What makes you implement it better? And now you have the whole ideas of the newness in here. How you feel about that in the development of individual and manager and leader and teams in terms of collaboration, creativities? What advice do you give to me and Vivian so that we can fine tune the framework of newness that can get closer to the audience who needed that?
Yeah. Oh, I love the framework.
Oh,
I absolutely love the framework. It's easy to remember, and I think it captures exactly what does happen as we'll wait for this truck to
wait for this one.
There we go. That was a truck full of milk.
Yeah, I think that's a milk company down.
Milk company down, yeah. So, but the newness framework, like I was saying, I think it's easy to remember, and it does capture the process of moving from what was to what could be. And for leaders, leadership is the activity of creating possibility in people's minds. That's what newness represents, the possibility. And then if it just remains as a possibility, there's not much there. It has to be moved into people's experience as a probability. So yeah, you move from possibility to probability, and if it's a probability, it's kind of like, let's see what we can do with this. And then probability can become reality. But there is a migration. And I think the newness model actually facilitates the way that people can go from possibility to probability into reality, a new reality.
Wow. That's a lot of wisdom in there for me and Vivian to listen and then to fine tune our model. And the last question.
Yeah.
Alrighty. If there's one newness that you would like to see, over the years of leading, of helping other people to become better leaders themselves, and there's only one that boiled down to one newness that you want to see from all of them, what would that be? Oh
boy, that's a great question. This morning I was reading Meditations, Marcus Aurelius's book, Meditations, his journal, his diary. Book 5 in Meditations. Yeah, he's talking about how do I want to be known, because he was the most powerful person on the planet as a Roman emperor. And how do I measure my success in life? Is it through the riches I've acquired? Is it through the conquests that I've facilitated, the wars that we've fought and won, the treasure that we've accumulated? And he landed on the point that none of that really mattered because everybody had done that in some way, shape, or form. He said, for me, what matters is, was I able to be kind to those that are unkind? Kind to those that are unkind. And from the most powerful person on the planet at the time, he was the emperor of the world for all intents and purposes, to say, was I kind to people who were unkind? Wow. That, I think, is what newness can require, and it's age-old wisdom. I mean, it's in the Upanishads, it's in the Vedas, it's in just any scripture that you find. That is what it's written about, and it's newness brought back to life. Wow. Blaine, thank you so much for a beautiful morning. My pleasure, absolutely. For touching for so many newness in this conversation, so many insights and wisdom that we can share to our audience out there. And the part that you close this conversation with the frame of, how can we be kind to the people who are unkind, right? I think is amazing. Thank you so much for that. My pleasure. Yeah, and I really look forward for you and Cynthia in our country. Yeah, I'd love to meet you in your country, you and Vivian. And yes, and we would love to have that conversation. We would love to take you guys out in our beautiful cities, not just the cities. Plural, yes. Yeah. So thank you, and I'll see you around next time also. Absolutely. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.